Extreme historical hobbies that you won't believe are true. With an estimated 50 to 90 million citizens, or 20% of the world's population at the time, ancient Rome was one of the biggest empires in history. Did you know that a horse became a senator? At the age of barely 24, Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus made his horse a senator and ascended to the throne of Rome. So in today's video, we will see the historical hobbies that you won't believe are true. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at number 1, Civil War picnics. You and the rest of your 5th grade history class currently attend a Civil War picnic to see a number of part-time actors dressed in historical attire pretending to shoot each other. However, many people had the opportunity to see the genuine thing whilst partaking in a light snack during the Battle of Bull Run, the American Civil War's first land battle. In the belief that the Union forces would win the war quickly, many residents walked outside and set up picnics close to the battlefield to observe the fighting firsthand. Nobody's quite sure why anyone thought it would be a good idea to eat finger foods as their friends and neighbors fired cannons at one another, but suffice it to say that once the actual battle started, they quickly regretted their choices to approach the conflict like a croquet match. Number 2, the mob football. Mob football existed before the NFL, the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady's televised divorce. This early variation of football, which was first invented in the 12th century, is where most of the contemporary football has its roots. The game was played using a pigskin ball, which was fought over by two opposing teams seeking to score a goal, much like it is now. In contrast to today's game, however, you need to score 3 times to receive 1 point. There was essentially just one rule: no murdering. Their injury reports must have been a nightmare. It was a violent match, if not a sport, then a jackass segment. But given that there is still in use today, more than 900 years later, its popularity cannot be disputed. Yes, the original form of mob ball is still played in the UK. 2-day-long games are held annually on Shrove Tuesday and Ash Wednesday in front of thousands of spectators. Number 3, the morgue. The morgue is often only used for patients with body temperatures far below 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. However, "Hey youngster, you want to see a dead body?" became a successful marketing strategy in the 19th century Paris. A 4-year-old girl was described in a newspaper story from 1886 as dying from nothing more than serious than a hand bruise. People who were morbidly fascinated went to the mortuary to see the sad dead soul on the exhibit. This frenzy is thought to have transformed the morgue industry from a way to identify loved ones' remains into an exciting hobby for both British tourists and French locals. In France, the morgue was regarded as a must-see attraction by the end of the 19th century. For several days at a time, and maybe longer, bodies were visible to everyone in the morgue windows. Obviously, this approach has since become obsolete, but it helped create mannequins as we know them today. I'm only joking. Or am I? Number 4, mummy unwrapping. It was not with the 1980 slasher movies or the classic Hollywood monster movies that humanity became obsessed with the macabre. It seems as though people have always enjoyed gory gatherings. Mummy unwrapping parties are among the most ominous activities. We're actually looking quite a bit further ahead in time to the 19th century Victorian England, where the wealthiest, most powerful weirdos would buy up all the mummies that they could get their hands on. Whilst the word mummy is traditionally associated with ancient Egypt, we're actually looking quite a bit further ahead of time. Ironically, important members of high society would be invited to watch these corpses being unwrapped and frequently abused in front of a small audience, like a burlesque show for dusty bones in the center of a living room. How ironic. If you're enjoying these new facts, please like and share and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Number 5, carrying flaming barrels. The in vogue accessory in the 17th century was not extravagant clothing or jewelry. You would literally carry a flaming barrel of tar down the street. I wonder if you can wear one like the Flavor Flav on chain. A strange ritual of bringing a blazing barrels of tar down the road has been practiced in England's Ottery St Mary's since 1605, just after Guy Fawkes' infamous gunpowder plot. The tar barrels are intended to represent the 36 barrels of gunpowder Fawkes employed in his attempt to blow up the British Parliament like a gender reveal celebration. The barrels were initially rolled along the street. Today, excited participants carried the barrels along the streets on their backs. Number 6. Atomic tourism. Atomic tourism became popular when an atomic warhead exploded above the Nevada deserts in 1951. Like now, Las Vegas was no stranger to making money when the opportunity presented itself. Therefore, the ruling class lost no time in designating Vegas as the nation's capital of nuclear tourism. In the 1950s, you could find atomic cocktails being served at the bars, showgirls dressed like mushroom clouds, and even places where you could go and watch a live detonation for yourself from a reasonably safe distance. Kind of like a Disney character breakfast, but with the most terrifying weapons ever created. Number 7. Headless photos. The trend of headless photographs, which is exactly what it sounds like and was probably invented by pioneering photographer Oscar Gustavo Rylander, was another way Victorian England indulged its fixation with the macabre. One of the earliest types of photographic manipulation in 1856 was headless photography. Instead of simply pressing Ctrl-C, the process required working with the original negatives and cutting and copying with real scissors and paste. The key problem was making the several photographs look like they were captured as a single photo. The hurdles entailed justifying your possessions of a headless person photograph. In the name of morbid amusement, experimental photographers were able to use a variety of techniques to produce decapitations that appeared to be real. Number 8. Water jousting. As the expression goes, dump it in the water when a sport becomes monotonous. That was the idea behind the invention of water jousting, which involved bringing conventional jousting to a river. Water jousting is thought to have originated in ancient Egypt and gained popularity in France in the year 570 BC as a kind of entertainment for the aristocracy. In concept, it's similar to traditional jousting, but it's performed while standing in a boat on a river rather than being mounted. The jouster would attempt to knock the adversary into the water as the oarsmen rowed in their direction. No airboats, no motorboats, just the one who rows. Are we certain this isn't meant to be less monotonous? Major contests took place in Lyon along the Seine River, and it's said that Queen Elizabeth even attended one of these matches there. In France, the amateurs continue to practice and are still very well liked. Visit the nation in August for the Saint Louis Festival to see teams joust against one another to the music of the time period as intended. And finally, number 9. Shin kicking. For many in the English countryside, the first Cotswold Olympic shin-kicking competition took place in 1612, not far from Campden. The pastime is still popular today, more than 400 years later. The objective of the game, which is a variation on Cotswold wrestling, is to trip the opponent by hooking their legs. Since then, it has changed to involve players kicking shins, hitting, and tussling one another until another is on the ground. In essence, it's the pastime of tiny brothers and retired shuffleboard players who are famous lawyers and intoxicated on Irish coffee. It's thought that Robert Dover invented Olympic shin kicking, and before putting it on hold in 1642 during the English Civil War, the festival had been going on for nearly 200 years without interruption. So what do you think? Which crazy hobby would you like to try? Let us know down in the comment section below, and whilst you're at it, check out some of the other videos from our history channel. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we'll see you in the next video.